Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to unpack a theory that, honestly, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But here's the crazy part. It's actually backed up by some very real and very recent data. We're talking about the dead internet theory.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me ask you something. Have you ever been scrolling, late at night, and you just get this weird feeling, like something's off? Maybe the conversations all sound the same, the content feels kind of bland and sterile, the whole thing just feels hollow.
Well, if you felt that, you are definitely not alone. This feeling, it actually has a history. It started bubbling up in forums like 4chan way back in the late 2010s. People there were some of the first to really put a finger on it, saying, hey, the internet we grew up with, that wild, messy, organic place, it feels like it's being replaced by something sanitized, something predictable, like a giant echo chamber.
So what started out as just a vibe, a gut feeling from a bunch of people online, is now being backed up by some pretty shocking data. I mean, we're talking about recent reports that have put a hard number on this whole thing, basically confirming that, what people were sensing, it's very, very real.
And here is that number. Get ready for this. According to a 2024 report from Imperva, a staggering 49.6%. Almost half of all internet traffic isn't human. Just let that sink in for a minute. That means nearly 1 out of every 2 things happening online, every click, every comment, every interaction, is being generated by a machine.
Okay, but it gets even wilder when you break that number down. Now sure, some of that is good bots, things like search engine crawlers that help index the web. But a whopping 32% of all traffic comes from bad bots, and these are the ones you gotta worry about. We're talking about automated programs designed for all sorts of nasty stuff, from scraping your personal data to straight up committing fraud.
And look, these are not the clunky, obvious spam bots you might remember from 10 years ago. Not at all. Today, we're dealing with what are called cognitive bots. These things are powered by large language models, and they are scary good. They can argue about politics, they can create memes, they can even fake typos to seem more human. It's gotten so extreme that on platforms like X and Reddit, some people estimate the ratio of bots to humans could be as high as 4-to-1. 4 bots for every 1 person? Wow.
Okay, so you take all this data, the traffic numbers, the super advanced AI, and you put it all together. What you get is the foundation for this really compelling and, let's be honest, kind of creepy hypothesis that's been gaining a ton of traction online.
And that's what's known as the dead internet theory. Now, the key thing to understand here is that the theory isn't that the internet is empty. It's actually the complete opposite. It's absolutely packed, but it's full of everything except real, genuine, spontaneous human interaction. It's becoming this weird, closed-loop simulation where it's just machines talking to other machines.
Now, this didn't just happen overnight. If you talk to researchers, they'll point to a really specific turning point, the year 2016. Before that, back in the early 2010s, the web felt more human, more organic. But 2016 was this huge pivot. That's when algorithmic feeds really took over everything and sophisticated click farms just exploded. And that right there set the stage for this theory to emerge. And now with these new AI bots, the whole trend is just hitting hyperspeed.
So the big question is, how does this even work? What are the actual mechanics behind this dead internet idea?
Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is something people are now calling AI slop. You've probably seen it. It's that endless flood of really bizarre, low-quality, machine-generated content that's all over places like YouTube and TikTok. But the real problem isn't just that the content is bad, it's what happens to that slop next. It basically creates this infinite feedback loop. So step 1, an AI model trains on real, original human content. Step 2, that AI then spits out tons of synthetic slop content. Step 3, a new AI model comes along and trains on all that AI-generated slop. You see the problem? The result is something experts are calling model collapse. It's like an algorithmic echo chamber where the AI is literally polluting its own well. And over time, quality, truth, and originality just start to decay. And this isn't just a technical problem. It has a really powerful psychological effect on us humans. Think about it. When a bot farm floods a post with thousands of similar sounding comments, it actually triggers something in our brains called social proof. We are hardwired to want to agree with the crowd, so this creates what's called an illusion of consensus, where our own brains get tricked into believing a completely manufactured opinion is actually the majority view.
So you have to ask, why would corporations let this happen? Well, it all comes down to incentives.
Money, basically. A company's valuation is often tied to metrics like daily active users, or DAUs. And frankly, there's not a lot of motivation to spend a bunch of money figuring out if that user is a human or a bot. As long as the engagement numbers are going up, the shareholders are happy. It's created this bizarre situation where ignoring ad fraud has almost become a profitable part of the business model.
The good news is you can actually learn how to spot the ghost in the machine. There are a few telltale signs. First, look for what's called temporal consistency. That's when you see posts popping up at these perfect inhuman intervals, like every 30 seconds on the dot. Next, watch out for semantic repetition. This is when you see hundreds of different accounts all using the exact same weird phrase, like "I just stumbled upon this and wow." And finally, there's the dead profile. You know the one. It has thousands of followers, but absolutely no personal photos, no history, no real sign of a human life behind it.
But this whole thing goes way deeper than just being a technical problem. The dead internet theory actually plugs into a really profound philosophical idea about the nature of reality itself.
There was this French philosopher, Jean Baudrillard, who talked about a concept he called hyper-reality. And his most famous line was this: "The map comes to precede the territory." What he meant was that eventually the simulation of a thing, the copy, the image, becomes more real and even more important to us than the actual original thing.
So let's break that down. The territory, that's reality. It's original human experiences, the messy, authentic material world. The map, on the other hand, is hyperreality. It's the simulation, the copies that don't even have an original anymore. And the scary part of hyperreality is that it becomes almost impossible to tell the difference between the map and the territory.
And this is where it all clicks into place. The dead internet theory is a perfect modern example of Baudrillard's hyperreality. The internet has become our new map. It's this incredibly vast, super detailed simulation of human society, but it's a map where the actual humans are starting to disappear from it.
So, where does this all go from here? If this trend keeps accelerating, what does the future of the internet even look like?
A lot of people who study this are predicting something called a splinternet. Basically, the internet splits into two. On one side, you'll have the public web, which becomes this dead zone, just a sea of AI noise, bots chattering away to other bots and ads everywhere. And then on the other side, you'll have these small, private, invite-only communities, the kind of places where you need to provide proof of humanity, maybe with a fingerprint or an eye scan, just to prove you're real and get inside.
What this really boils down to is that our whole relationship with information is fundamentally changing. You know, for decades, the big challenge online was just finding information. But going forward, that's not going to be the hard part. The real quest, the real challenge, will be finding authenticity, finding something or someone that's actually real.
And so that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. In a world that's becoming a more and more perfect simulation, a beautiful, intricate map that's slowly losing its territory, how on earth do we find the soul in the code?